This is Carlos Galindo, and you're listening to Straight Talk. This is a podcast, and we'll also be playing this on our Spanish language show Monday through Friday. This coming Monday, Hablando Claro, Straight Talk in Spanish. We're getting ready to start an interview with Senator Steve Gallardo. Senator, first of all, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carlos.
Senator Gallardo, really exciting news regarding the Senator Scott Bundgaard, who resigned this afternoon prior to taking the stand or prior to testifying at an ethics hearing. The reason that this is important and good news to you is because I understand you are the one who initiated the complaint for an ethics investigation.
That is correct. I really believe that a loud message was sent to victims of domestic violence, that domestic violence will not be tolerated in the state of Arizona, and especially when it comes to members of the legislature. That members of the legislature are not above the law, that if they engage in this type of behavior, that they will be held accountable. Senator Bundgaard had ample opportunity to resign. I remember early on, just days after the February 25th incident, I called for his resignation. I had a press conference and called for him to step down. It's unfortunate that he had to bring us to a point where we have to engage in an ethics hearing. The fact that he spent, thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in conducting an ethics hearing. He's put the whole legislature in this state through this awful hearing, and he's even re-victimizing his victim, Ms. Ballard. It's unfortunate that he put us, the legislature, through this, but I think he did the right thing. It's time for him to step down. It's time for him to move on, and it's time for us to start the new legislative session fresh without this type of distraction.
Senator Gallardo, let's get something clear here. This is not about partisan politics. This is clearly about, first of all, a senator behaving in a manner that a senator should behave, somebody who's representing the people. Second of all, it's about protecting. It's not about partisan politics. It's about protecting victims of domestic violence.
Oh, definitely. This is domestic violence is not a Republican Democratic issue.
Yes.
The fact is that I believe that there was enough votes, enough Republicans and Democrats who were ready to expel Senator Bundgaard if it had to. I believe the votes were there to have him removed as a state senator. It's unfortunate that Senator Bundgaard has put us through this. You know, folks may want to try to make this a partisan issue, but domestic violence affects every segment of our society. It doesn't know the difference between Republican and Democrat. This is a terrible type of crime that we're dealing with, and it knows no bounds. So the idea that this is a Democrat versus Republican, no. This is about protecting victims. This is about doing what's right for the institution. This is about making sure that legislators are held accountable. This idea that legislators are held to a higher standard and that we're above the law, that could be further from the truth. The fact is, even one of the officers who testified, many of the officers who testified yesterday, said that if it was any other person other than a legislator, they would have been arrested and thrown in jail. Senator Bundgaard was never arrested. He was never taken to jail. They released him that night because he was a state senator. I think that's an issue we need to deal with here at this coming legislative session. Because at the end of the day, no one is above the law. We're all equal when it comes to abiding by the law. And to say that elected officials should be held to a different standard is wrong. And I think today the Senate Ethics Committee held Senator Bundgaard accountable for his actions on February 25th.
Well, we applaud the efforts of the ethics committee, and I know that we had there was 3 Republicans sitting on that committee and 2 Democrats. So the way things were looking, and of course the concern that Mr. Bundgaard had was that in fact, there would be a majority voting to expel him, and hence his resignation. So I think it's important for us to understand that there was a majority Republican Republican majority in this ethics committee, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, this ethics committee, it's a bipartisan. You had 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats that are going to decide if a recommendation to the full Senate should be expulsion. And I think it's one thing to point out, too, it was Republicans and Democrats that voted to decide to move further with my complaint and have an ethics investigation. So it wasn't a partisan issue. It was Republicans and Democrats both voting yes to move forward on looking in on what happened on February 25th.
To finalize this, I want to ask you, I know you're in a Senate building there. You've got kids touring through there. I want to ask you to finalize this. Are we looking at perhaps more accountability here for our Arizona legislators? Is this what we're seeing? Are we trending towards more accountability, seeing that Russell Pierce was removed, seeing that another elected official, Arpaio, is under investigation, and we're seeing perhaps a move towards accountability? What are your thoughts on that aspect?
Oh, definitely. You look at what has happened over the last year. You're seeing a whole new level of awareness coming from the public. They're watching their elected officials. I mean, one of my biggest complaints here with some of my colleagues is they work with the assumption that no one's going to know what they're doing, that they're going to say whatever they want, they're going to introduce the type of legislation they want, and no one back home in their district is going to know what they're doing. Those days are over. I think there's a whole new level of awareness, a whole new level of advocacy that is coming out, and they're saying, you know what, we're watching the elected officials. We're going to hold you accountable. They held Senator Pierce accountable. You look at the removal of Senator Pierce, that wasn't a Democrat issue. You saw Republicans, Democrats, Independents all voting yes to recall Senator Russell Pierce. Now you're seeing the same type of movement against Sheriff Joe Arpaio to hold him accountable. The fact that he has wasted millions of dollars of taxpayer money, the fact that he has operated his office with disregard to the U.S. Constitution and state law. And I think people are going to hold him accountable. They're watching what he's doing. They're watching his movement. They're watching to see if he's going to comply with the Department of Justice demands. Is he going to make changes? And if he doesn't make changes, you can almost certainly bet that come November 2012, they're going to hold him accountable. And I think you're going to see a new sheriff in Maricopa County.
Senator Steve Gallardo, we appreciate your time here on Straight Talk, and keep us updated.
Like always, thank you, Carlos. Keep up the good work.